Recording in
Hello, welcome to episode 29 of Let the Story Write Itself, the podcast where I share journeys around the world and the magical experiences and adventures that often occur when you simply allow your intuition to lead. And that place that doesn't necessarily come from logic or analysis, but simply being. And it's a space that the motto, Let the Story Write Itself, really arose because it was this idea of tuning in to something beyond your human mind and following a certain path that in a way has already been written is written from somewhere outside of yourself and in many ways feels more pure and true simply because it doesn't have the limits or the constraints that you might otherwise have from that more logical state of analysis and human thinking. It's really where the state of possibility and energy exists, and energy is infinite. So this is where you really play in the quantum realm. This is where the source of abundance flows from because you're escaping the confines of your mind and the limiting beliefs of, say, a society or the conditions or the norms, and you're allowing for what you may call the universe, God, spirit, to create for you. You're becoming a co-creator. And this is not woo woo. I mean, you could call it woo woo. You might call it manifestation. I don't necessarily use that term either. I would call it simply letting the story write itself. So, let the story write itself is like a motto, it's like a practice, it's like a spiritual principle. It's rooted in meditative practices, in qualities of flow, flow state, and wealth energetics and abundance, and simply allowing who you really are. So, it's like, the Tao, Confucius, and all of these, the ancient wisdom and teachings that have, the parables and all of these things that exist in all sorts of cultures and religions and philosophers. These are all like the timeless principles that are embodied in these teachings. And when I share these experiences, last podcast, I was going more into the month I had in Morocco, and it's not about the travel for me. I hardly ever talk about like the itinerary or like, the specific destination or specific places or the specific sites I'm seeing or even activities or like a bucket list of or even like the more logistical aspect of travel. From like this podcast really has more to do with the energetic qualities and the energetic principles behind it. It's more of a spiritual podcast, if anything, if you haven't ascertained that by now. And not to say that it's labeled or categorized in any one which way, but there's certain qualities of self-development in this and personal self-actualization, if you will. It's that idea of becoming who you really are, that your best self. And this is what travel really encompassed for me because I didn't make travel happen. Travel kind of just showed itself to me. It kind of just made it happen on my behalf. And I was almost just like literally on a magic carpet ride, allowing it to unfold as I simply went along with it. So it's the element of saying yes to begin with, to yes to that flow, to that state of wonder and awe and possibility, and that open mind where you think, where you're able to transcend what the mind may otherwise say, all the logic that it might otherwise try to contain you in. And instead, it really allows you to just simply move with a certain freedom and ease. And today I wanted to share more about that experience. This was around March 2016. I was in Malaga in Spain for about 2 months, 2 to 3 months, just over 2 months. And like really the Andalusia, southern Spain area before then heading out onto Morocco for a month. And I almost feel like this area is like a hot spot. It was like just something about this place, like even now, like over a decade later or so, like 2016 until now, this really holds almost like the real magic of this trip. I felt was in this 2 to 3 month period. During the time in Andalusia, Spain, and Morocco, something about this, it was like the steepest learning curve of this whole adventure when it was just starting out. And the reason for that is that, prior I had just been bopping along from Vancouver to Toronto. So that took an element of trust, the one-way train ride. But I was still essentially just in my home country. And then when I went abroad, I started off in Barcelona. And that was where I got the idea to go to Andalusia, Spain. And that is what I talk about in previous episodes more in detail. But essentially, I was simply allowing a pull, like an intuitive flow, to direct me. And that was really the essence of why the whole journey felt so magical and why it unfolded in the way it did. Like it unfolded in a very seamless way. Like I didn't have to plan any of it. And somehow everything just kind of worked out. And, I never planned a packing list. I never planned like a return trip. I never planned like onward journeys. I didn't necessarily plan any particular stays or aspects or itinerary of the actual journey itself. I simply moved according to an inner voice, like just something that I was at tuning into that was giving me like these ideas and these, it was almost like I was translating a feeling into like a specific place. And I was like, okay, that's where that is. And I would often get like a specific voice or like, do this, go here, do that. And so I found myself in the southern coast of Spain, Andalusia. And, I ended up staying for like 2 months. And I'm like, well, I elaborate on this in a previous podcast. I think it was called Sea, Sand, and Sky, that one. And it was this feeling of really breaking free. Like, this is where true freedom really came in. It was not about the travel, it's not about the specific place, it's not about anything specific. It really has to do with that inner quality that you unlock when you allow yourself to be free in that way, to listen to truth, essentially, and to move according to truth and not necessarily like an if this then that kind of like very conditional behavior. It was like unconditional thinking. It's like like intrinsically led by purpose and unconditional and unconditional love. I think even that, like at that time, that's really like what I was saying. I was like, this is unconditional love. Like I'm pulled more by love than fear, faith over fear, and I'm also moving according to no conditions. Like I'm not putting conditions like, oh, I need to have this in place first. I need to make sure this is happening first. I need to make sure that I know ahead of time this and this and that. Like all these conditions, right? And that's really where I allowed myself to just simply open my mind and allow in more, essentially just allow in more. It's like you just open your soul for more and you become a lot more self-trusting, like trusting in something beyond the logical. And that is really what happened, or really why this particular point in Andalusia was, if you picture like a graph and it's kind of just like a plateau, and then suddenly there's like a steep learning curve, and then kind of like it flattens out again. This particular moment between Andalusia and Morocco was like the steep learning curve, and I'll tell you why. Because first I was in a foreign country, which made it a little bit more of it was felt like a deeper experience than just simply doing this in my own country, right? Where I'm already familiar. It's like everything's, in the same language, you have all your banking there, your phone plan is there. You're essentially just in your same country. Like there's nothing necessarily that different, even if you're in a different province. I'm referring to Canada. So in that manner, it's like yeah, so what if you're in a different city? Like there wasn't that big of a difference. But in choosing to then go over to Spain, even though I started in Barcelona, in moving to Andalusia, and this is really the heart of the story came out, was I was allowing that intuitive pull to lead me even further and just also moving with like a quickness, right? Like when I had gone to Andalusia, I didn't have to plan it out. I just got the call and then I went like the next day essentially. And I was just moving in this more like intuitive state, like not going into all the in-depth logic and analysis and dialogue and conversation and monologuing and having to like really do a lot of like thinking about it. Like I was just simply moving. It was like a dance essentially. And it's this flow state that suddenly everything kind of just cleans itself up. It's like a lot of, lower energy thoughts or feelings or a decision making or whatnot, even just like your general energetic state, it kind of just like lifts, it elevates to a frequency and like a vibrational state that is more in ease. It's more in flow. It's like you're just simply dancing and like moving, almost like you're part of the ocean and the sky and like the universal systems, essentially. It's like you're just in flow and in tune with the natural order of the universe. And that's really what I felt when I was, on the beach in Malaga. And I was like, wow, I feel like I'm just kind of washing away so much of, so much of that, like, what do you call it? The whirlwind, like the the commotion that goes on in the mind and like all of the noise, it's like all that just kind of silenced. And it wasn't just because I was by the ocean suddenly, because obviously there's the ocean in Vancouver, there's some water bodies nearby in Toronto, there's Barcelona's by the coast. It's not even about that. Like I was actually by the coast in many of these places, but it was almost this idea that like in Malaga, I had almost like like reached this place where I was like, wow, this is where I'm meant to be right now. Like this journey was kind of leading me here. So I could return home to that sense of like, this is who I really am. This is where I feel most activated. And not only that specific place, but like in that moment in time, I allowed myself to be pulled to where I needed to be. It's like I'm not a static creature. I'm a dynamic, possibly nomadic type of person and human being. It's like you move according, you don't keep yourself in one place. You don't kind of like lock yourself in and never move, essentially. It's like you become a more fluid, wholesome being in that sense. And in unlocking that, it's like where I had previously maybe felt like a bit losing a bit of that vibrancy or that zest for life, even just like in my mid-20s, just this feeling of like things are becoming a bit of a chore. I'm just dragging my feet through the day. Everything, it feels like a wading through molasses. Everything feels like the same old, same old. Like, even a city that in many ways I do still like and love, Vancouver, it starts to feel a little bit like monotonous after a while. And like you're just like everything just kind of lost a lot of high definition color in essence. And then arriving to Malaga was suddenly like I was just perked up again. I'm like, oh my goodness. You know, sometimes a geographical cure is the cure. It's not even like you're escaping anything. It's like you're moving according to your soul. It's like, what else are you here for? You're a soul in a human body, here to experience the different colors and aspects and aliveness of being alive, essentially. And, if you have the call to move and to go here and to go there, the whole world is your playground. Why would you not do that? And travel is not often like, it's not just like a vacation. It's a way of life. It's a way of simply expressing that vibrancy and that humanness and that ability to just play and be creative and move accordingly and express the fullness of your being, essentially. And then when I felt like the time was tapering off, it's like there's always another and another, that's the thing. It's like sometimes people think there has to be like a final destination, like, as if this is like the one all be end all. Like you're trying to come to like some kind of a conclusion that you just stay put. It's like, what's this obsession with staying put somewhere? What's this obsession with like being like, oh, now I can relax. Now I'm done. Now I've finished. It's like a continual movement, right? For as long as you're alive, you're going to be constantly moving and playing and dancing and celebrating and in that state of joy and flow and ease and peace and everything, right? That abundance is just continual. It's like a running tap of water. It's continuously flowing. It's like it's not like a um it's like it's not like a one and done and drip drop type of thing. It's like a you want it to be like an open tap where you can just flow as freely as possible. And that occurs on an energetic state. If you're energetically blocked somehow, whether you're too in your head or your chakras, something is misaligned or it's not spinning properly or whatnot, um, on an energy level, your frequency, your vibrational attunement is going to impede the way that you show up and your self-expression. And a lot of times that's where sometimes you see people and they just look a little bit more like lifeless, a bit more dark, like they're not necessarily alive, like living life to the fullest, like they're not necessarily awake or conscious in that sense. And this is where, for example, Malaga, for example, felt so exotic to me, just Andalusia and Spain, and it's a foreign culture and it's a different language and it's like a totally new landscape to me, right? I just felt like so, I don't know, like I was truly just living life at that point. And even when then went on to Morocco, it felt like even deepening into that foreignness and like, wow, totally different continent even now. And like the Arabic language, that's even more foreign to me because at least like Spanish, French, whatnot, has Latin roots. And in fact, I was in French immersion, so I actually have a basis in that language. But Arabic, this is like actually foreign to me. The writing, it's so different. The guttural sounds and the the language, the noises of like that language and the sounds that are produced, I'm like totally foreign. This is actually so like foreign to me. And the continent, Africa, it feels like a whole different world. The theme of like a whole new world and like that magic carpet ride and all that, it was like a replaying theme in my mind. And taking the ferry over, even though it was the northern tip of Africa, and you could argue is more like the Middle East, kind of like fusion of like the south of Europe and north of Africa, like, it's not necessarily one or the other. It has many different, and I think this mix is what made it so eclectic in a way. Like it made it such that there were elements that I could identify with, even though being abroad, it's like there was a familiarity to it. And there's also a sense that I'm where I feel the most pulled to, like out of any other place in the world. This particular, I call it like a hotspot. I'm just here. It's like something that's just activating me. Every place has like a different energy or like something about it that's unique, and your own energetic qualities are going to be activated differently by different places. And for some reason, at this particular point in time, it was like between March to May of 2016, this particular area in like the Mediterranean, Middle East area, south of Spain to the tip of Morocco, or the tip of Africa and Morocco. This particular place was really where I felt so like lit up, activated, just like in my essence. And this is where that steep learning curve came in, like this steep portion of the graph where it was like this 2 to 3 month period. It was where I felt like an international world traveler, you know, really having that flexibility and that freedom and that independence and that self-trust and that faith and that love over fear philosophy. It's like embodying these practices and that juicy deliciousness of life that I was really just savoring and embodying through being there right now. Essentially, I'm like, how did I even get to Spain? How did I even get to Morocco? How did I even get to have all these experiences in between during these 2 to 3 months, essentially? And being in the desert, like I went into the Sahara Desert also on a workway. And I remember I was like on a motorbike. So it wasn't like with a tour at all. It's like I was the only person. It's like I wasn't even like thinking about like, oh, I'm the only like, is this because obviously it was through a site like Workway, and it was, I don't know, I just never even it was just felt so peaceful. Like if you've ever been in the desert, you like the silence there is unreal. It's like something unlike any other, especially when you're like not in a tour group, because it feels like when you're literally just there and it's just you. Well, it wasn't just me, it was me and the workaway host. But essentially like just me, and like there's nobody else there. It's like complete silence, complete stillness. I'd done a 10-day Vipassana meditation retreat, but this was almost like another level. And the ironic thing is that I also spent 10 days there. And it was like this going so deep into the silence and the stillness that is like also a recurring theme in my life, whether with the Vipassana retreats or now being in the desert, that it's like, how did how to like, somehow this is what I mean by let the story write itself. Like somehow there is something that your soul wants to experience at this time on earth. And how that can become about is by through different ways. But like the way that it often does come about, and I would say in many ways actually always does come about, is always going to be in the most resonating way for your soul. So it's like something about the desert. I was speaking French with this host because they speak Spanish and Arabic and French. Meanwhile, I speak English, Mandarin, and French. So obviously, the only overlapping language we have in common is French. So so I was like speaking French in this Moroccan desert, and like I took French immersion when I was a kid. So it's like, how would all these things kind of converge? It's like the desert and the meditation and like the French. It's like all these different things that, and my name is Hebrew. It has like a Middle Eastern, I think, like it has like the quality of like the Middle East. So there's like some overlap there as well, like Sarah. So I don't know. It's just like, it's like this confluence of events that feels like otherworldly. It feels magical. It feels beyond the realm of logic and humanist. It's like ascending into the spiritual and the spiritual realm that doesn't necessarily make sense. It feels almost like a dream state, like a dream world, like something bigger than you is happening. There's a bigger picture, and that's really where I felt this sense of connection is like this isn't just a story. Like this isn't just like a vacation or like a place that I'm visiting right now or like a story. This is like a bigger picture right now. There's something bigger at play right here in this moment. And whenever I think back to these moments or this particular period of time, and that quality of feeling, like it's a very specific feeling, like that it holds in my heart because it's like this idea that there is magic in the world, like there is something beyond. And actually, I had just heard about this book called The Little Prince as well. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like not only is the message in The Little Prince, which is like a very popular book, and almost like embodied in this experience I'm having, and this idea of like going past just the superficial and really just like becoming a child again, essentially, that wonder and that awe and that adventure and the play, essentially, the purity of heart and thought and beingness. And connecting with others just in that pure state as well. Here I am with this nomad who was actually a nomad, like I was about to say digital nomad, but no, just like literally from the desert, like born in the desert. And then he was saying like, oh, he went to the city to do some work as well, but the desert always pulled him back. And that's why he's decided to like start his own. It was like a farm. He was trying to grow like some crops in the desert and like had a well, call it puits in French. And, it's like making like these bricks from clay from the underneath the sand that they would dig, and then like was had like this Berber camp that they set up, and like with the tapestries and like the even had like a toilet facility and like a shower set up and like cooking. And then they were like on workway now to connect with travelers and becoming more of like allowing their own experiences to be something that they share, like the gifts they share with the world, right? So it's like using their own background and history, like growing up in the desert as a nomad, and then sharing that with others. And it's this idea of like going back to your own roots and like what it is that you're called to do. And that very essence that it's not about like, oh, I have to go to the city and work and do this. Like that's very almost like empty in a way. But then when they got called back to their own roots and that sense, like, and they were so like comfortable in the desert in the silence, or I'm like, how the hell are you just like so comfortable with the silence? And it was just like, for me, like, even though I had done Vipassana, I was like, this is like there was no structure in the way that Vipassana had where I was actually doing the meditation. It was literally just like hours upon hours, like in the desert, in the middle of the desert. like, and I was even just like going, like, it was like a deeper level of integration because I'm like, this is even beyond the meditation at Vipassana at this point. So it was so interesting how that would be almost like harking back to that experience that I had. I'm like, wow, I feel like a badass. I've done Vipassana. But now I'm like, okay, this nomad is actually even more so like actually from the desert. Just like the stillness is like their freaking home. This is like what they're so used to. And like they would drive this motorbike that they would have to like, fix themselves if they were like in the middle of the desert or something, right? Because like there's no one else there. You're not just gonna like call like a company to come and help you. It's like you are the person who has to like do the fixing and like building and like just building from scratch essentially. It was like this like so like interesting. I was like, wow, this person is legitimately like just doing it all on their own kind of thing. Like, so often it's like you're if you're just existing in like the city or something, there's always like, oh, I just go to the grocery store and buy this and I just go and just like it's not the same level of like it's not the same level of like getting to the roots of who you really are as when you're in the desert. And when I was in the desert with like this nomad and like watching them like building their garden and like, you know, on their motorbike or like this whole like business that they're building essentially. And I was like, wow, this person is actually like doing the things, not the person like pushing papers around in an office or just making a living or something. This is a person connected with their roots and actually like a really like a badass essentially is what I was like. I felt like, wow, this is like next level. So, the desert experience was very interesting for that reason. I've been to many deserts since then, but this was the only desert I had been as like a non like not like on a tour or like some other thing where you're just like a bunch of other tourists. Like I was the only person here and this was like near the start of Workaway. So this person, I just set up a workaway account and I think I was like the second guest or even the first guest. I can't remember exactly. But I was like, wow, what conversions, what timing that I was just in Barcelona in Spain, set up my workaway account, brought me to the south of Spain, Andalusia. And then here I was in Morocco having this even deeper experience in the way of meditation and stillness and silence and spirituality and the whole concept embodied in the book The Little Prince. And it was all of these like converging factors. Oh, and speaking French, right? And it was like all of these converging factors and I was like just reflecting on like just the magic of life and like the spontaneity and synchronicity that like I didn't even necessarily plan. I could not even have thought of. I didn't even thought of like thinking like I want to go to Morocco. Like I even considered that country at all. Um Spain, never really considered that country either. Like all these countries that I never really considered consciously, like if you were to ask me what would I want to travel, I probably would have been like Singapore or something, just because that's where I have relatives, right? Or I've been to before. Like I never had that bucket list of like I really want to go here or here for the cultural sightseeing or the thing or the particular activity or something. I never really have been that type of person. The only thing I could say is like I've always thought I wanted to go on a hot air balloon, which I actually did get to later in this trip. But yeah, I was always like, oh, fascinated by like hot air balloons, right? Like that whole adventure, like around the world in 80 days. You can see there's like a common theme here. There's a bit of that whimsy. There's a sense of that larger than life aspect of like that explorer mentality and my energetic quality, whether it's like the little prince and like deserts and uh traveling different continents and hot air balloon rides and all these different aspects that they reflect like the quality and the fabric of your like the cloth of your soul, so to speak, like the texture there. And for mine, like as a Sagittarius midheaven, it's always been the sense of like being larger than life, like this expansive quality of going big or going home, essentially. So it's interesting how all of these qualities are somehow playing out in a scale and a bigger scale than I would fathom for my own human mind, essentially. And that only occurred because I allowed myself to transcend to the higher mind, to the mind that existed more so from the intuitive pull. So leading from intuition, that is your inner compass, essentially. And that is why this whole this particular part of the journey from Andalusia to Morocco was like I felt like the core heart of the story where that steep learning curve came in, and I really felt the magic in the adventure of what it meant to actually just listen to that inner pull and that intuitive quality that really makes for the magic of the adventure unfolding. So that is episode 29 of Let the Story Write Itself.